How we doing, everybody? Can you believe it? Justice League, Kong, Godzilla, all in one book. Let's talk about it right now. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. How we doing? So, let's get right into it. But before we do, remember to give me a like, give me a subscribe, give me that thumbs up. I am trying to grow the channel, so anything you could do to help me would be greatly appreciated. So let's talk about movies and comics. Will these comics eventually make good movies and television shows? Let's find out with your host, Frank Zanca. I am an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, comic book writer, and a working line producer, but not working so much right now because I'm waiting for the strikes to end. So let's get right into it. This is, nobody would have thought that they would take the MonsterVerse and stick it into the Justice League. When I saw that, I think that it was like the stupidest thing I ever heard of. So here we are with Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. So I didn't know how they were going to really approach this. You notice I'm like a loss for words on this one because it's an odd one to talk about. But they were able to take the lore of Justice League and slowly edge in the monsters. So it didn't, they just didn't show up out of the blue. So we start out with Lois and Clark having dinner on the roof of the Daily Planet. And he proposes to her. And from there, we have a little battle with this big robot ape. It's kind of leading into, the Kong thing. But Bruce says, no, don't worry about it. You're on a break now because he was basically going balls to the wall and doing as many things as he can. But then the Legion of Doom shows up, which I was a big fan of the Super Friends back in the late 70s. So this is a complete throwback to that. So the Legion of Doom show up, and, Bruce is like, so you sure you want to get married, blah, blah. And he's like, oh my God, it's Legion of Doom. And Bruce is like, don't worry about it, we got everybody else taking care of it. So Supergirl is basically taking over Superman, and then you have Green Lantern and Flash and Wonder Woman all battling the Legion of Doom, who has a mother box that Lex is trying to program, and Toyman throws a toy which comes off, Hawkgirl's mace and ends up hitting the mother box and destroying it, or activating it while destroying it. I don't really know, but either way, it activates even if it's partially destroyed. And the Flash gets most of the Justice League out of the way, and all of a sudden, the Legion of Doom ends up in like a jungle. So, let me show you some of the pictures, some of the art in here. So this is their date on top of the Daily Planet, and Dan Moore is back for the art. And it's very, very colorful, which is why I really, fell in love with the DC characters as a kid, is that they were always really very colorful, and they all loved each other, and, which was the difference between that and the X-Men. The X-Men were always trying to beat each other up. So they end up going to the Fortress of Solitude, which is where they find the mother box. And this is with, he's telling Bruce that he's going to get married. And Bruce is like, yeah, really? I thought this was a cool shot with them all walking like badasses. And then the battle with the Legion of Doom. I was always a big fan of Black Manta, which is probably why I got into Aquaman to begin with. And you have Giganta, and I said Toyman, Lex, Cheetah, and Gorilla Grodd. So they have really good battle scene. And remember, now we're already halfway through, more than halfway through, and there's no Kong or anything else at this point. This is just the Justice League fighting the Legion of Doom. There's another cool little panel, Supergirl and Wonder Woman, and this is after they've already disappeared. So this is like, where are we? That's what Black Man says, and Lex says, "Ask Toyman. He's the one that screwed everything up." But then we get like the King Kong from like the movies where he's fighting those creatures and stuff like that, and Gorilla Grodd's like, "Oh my god, it's a big gorilla like me, but a lot bigger. It's a bigger gorilla than me." So we get Kong basically wins the battle, and then at the very end, uh, I guess they find some kind of a control room that's monitoring the monsters. Not sure what that leading to, but I guess that something happened with Godzilla, because then Godzilla ends up showing up in Metropolis, and if that isn't really a badass panel page, this is great. So that's where it ends. So it's pretty cool, right? So would this is only issue one. Would this make a good film or television show? All right, here's the problem with it. All right, because yes, it would be amazing to see all this stuff going on and dealing with the monsters and Legion of Doom and the Justice League and all this stuff. It would be great. The only problem is there's way too many characters for a film. Way, way, way too many, because you have all the Justice League, you have all the Legion of Doom, plus you have Lotus and all that other stuff going on. And here's the back, by the way. So I would say yes, but they'd have to cut that. I don't know how to. They'd have to lead into the Legion of Doom differently, because not everybody knows those characters. So, I mean, that would be cool if it was like, when they did individual films like they did for Marvel, and you're introducing the villain, and then the villain comes back. So not only you bring the characters back and they're together like the Avengers, but they're also bringing the villains back. That would be cool. But you'd have to majorly lead into this, or it would have to be a cartoon, one or the other. Or it would have to be a series, but the series would be far too expensive. Nor would the legendary who owns the rights for Godzilla and King Kong want to do a TV show. They'd want to go right in and do a film. So I would say yes, but I just don't. They'd have to do a lot of planning to pull that off. But boy, would that make some money! Holy shit, that's $1 billion right there. I mean, the MonsterVerse doesn't make that much money. I mean, Godzilla versus Kong, though it was a good movie, I thought it was good. It didn't make as much money as everybody thought it was going to make. But adding the Justice League in there, that's pretty cool. Superman beating up Godzilla. I mean, dreams. Those are things you never think you're going to see. Anyway, so move on. I could talk about that one for a while because that's pretty cool. But anyway, let's go into World's Finest. So this is Batman, Superman. Dan Moore returns for art. Mark Waid is writing, as he consistently has done. This is we're already on issue 20. He's almost been doing this for 2 years. Wow. So we're bringing back Thunderboy there, Thunder Lad, or whatever we called him. So he was found by Superman and then trained a little bit. He was kind of a loose cannon, and Superman took him under his wing, kind of like his son, and tried to teach him, between right and wrong, and you can't really hurt people like that, and you definitely can't kill, and all that stuff. But if you look at the cover, you could see that they were trying to, or they are leading into the Kingdom Come universe. Okay, so we start out with Barry showing up and saying, "Hey, I finally found your Thunder Boy," and he's on this multiverse, and Superman goes, "Oh my God, yes, yes! I was looking so forward to seeing him. I was hoping you were gonna find him. Woohoo!" So he does go pretty much like that. So he says, we gotta go. So he takes Batman on the cosmic treadmill. Yes, there's an actual thing called the cosmic treadmill. And when you go fast enough, you can go into time. Except when they go back in time or into a different universe, they're like a ghost form. So in this case, that's not how it normally happens, but this is what happened in this one. So they see themselves older, standing over some kind of a grave. And from there, they do pop into a universe and they do find him, and he is battling a supervillain. And he basically almost kills her. He grabs her head and starts melting her helmet and all this stuff. And so I'll show you the ending because that's pretty much where the end is. So we get some cool shots of Barry, going through the multiverse and seeing different things. And this is where Superman. I told you, look at his face. He's like, "Oh my God, it's so yeah." I told you. So there's the cosmic treadmill. If you're not a reader, that's what the cosmic treadmill looks like. It's literally a treadmill with a little thing on it. So here's where they see themselves over the casket, and they see some of the heroes dead. So that's Blue Beetle and Power Girl. It's funny that they have the hole in the costume in the chest, and all you see is bones and the Ray. And they realize that all of their super friends are all dead. And if you look on, the names on the tombstones, although you would think that they would have more elaborate tombstones, but these are all just generic tombstones. But if you look at them, there's Captain Atom, and I saw the Creeper in here, and all this stuff. So they're like, and he even sees Tim Drake, which is Red Robin. So he sees all that stuff, and Superman's like, I don't know what's going on. And then I love this panel here, and because that's those are the iconic pictures that I kind of grew up with for the Justice League. But they're basically eating in a Hard Rock Cafe, but it's all superheroes, and they dress down so they don't they can blend in a little bit. And this is where Thunder Boy or whatever, I don't know what he's called, is fighting whatever that supervillain is for him, specific to him. And this is where he basically starts to melt her head. And Superman's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You can't do that. Stop, stop, stop." And he's like, "Oh, I'm so glad to see you." And then the kid over here is like, "Oh yeah, I've been dreaming of this moment that you'd come back." And then he's like, "So I could beat the living shit out of you." And that's how it ends. So apparently Thunder Boy is not he's not doing as well in the good guy sense as Clark would have hoped. He's like, "No, I gotta get a new costume. You ripped it apart." So will this one make a good film or television show? I don't know yet. I don't know. The Thunder Boy thing, not really. But going into the Kingdom Come universe, I think that's kind of cool. So we'll see what he does with that. So I'll reserve for that one until we see what he does with the Kingdom Come universe. All right, moving on to Catwoman. So this is the continuation of the Gotham War, which is complete junk. So here, I'm just going to show you right off the bat because you're not going to believe this. So Catwoman's looking for Bruce, and she finds him crying. I go, mommy, mommy, and she's like holding her mouth, going, "What the fuck is going on here?" Batman's crying like a little baby, and then he's like, "Mommy, mommy." Oh, let me show you. Where's the panel? Ah, there it is. Where, mommy, mommy, hold me, just hold me. What am I reading here? What is this? This is not Batman. Batman doesn't cry. If he does, he definitely doesn't do it in front of other people. So they end up evading an explosion, and they get off the thing, and then they barely kiss or something like that. And look at Catwoman's. She's got like major high heel platforms on. How do you run with platform 5-inch heels? I don't understand that. And then she ends up going back, and she sees Vandal Savage, and he explains that it was actually his daughter, a Scandal Savage, so they kind of played her. And he says, "Look, I want you to find these artifacts, and then everybody can be immortal." I don't know. That seems a little weird to me. And then he cuts off her head. And everybody's like, "What happened?" And then her head's on the ground, and it starts talking because it's really Miss Clayface or whatever. So I'm gonna hope that this is a different Catwoman than the Catwoman that saw Bruce crying like a little baby. I'm hoping it's different. I hope that she went and saw Vandal Savage separately while Catwoman was talking to Batman, or else it's really, really awkward. Really, really awkward. Oh, sorry, man. Thought you were somebody else. And then to top it off, in Chip Zdarsky's Batman thing that took place right before this, he programmed Jason Todd's, who's the Red Hood, his mind so it's like Clockwork Orange. So he can't do anything, violent, or he starts having a panic attack. So he sees a burning building, and he runs in there because there's a kid in there. But then he can't get out because he has a panic attack. So then Scandal has a little bout with Catwoman here. She has a little fight. And he's just like, whatever. And then she goes to see Bruce and says, "We got to find Jason." Whatever, man. And he's like, "Well, I trained him." And she's like, "I did too." When the hell did she train Jason Todd? He was all trained up by the time he died and came back. She didn't even know him back then. I don't know what the hell's even going on. I don't know if she's ever even read Death in the Family, meaning Teenie Howard. Apparently, she doesn't even know these characters because. So they end up finding him, and they rescue the girl, and they get out, whatever. And then we have some kind of them beating up on the cops, people that live there, going, "And I pay my taxes, and you gotta help me, blah blah blah." So that's Teenie Howard's way of saying defund the police, I guess. And then all the villains show up, and thankfully this is being concluded in the next issue because I can't take this anymore. This is horrible. Will this make a good film or television show? No. It's got worse and worse and worse as time goes on. It's just so more obvious that these writers have no idea who these characters are. Remember, I keep saying there's two types of writers. There's the writers that write the characters and write a story around the characters because they know the characters. And then there's the other writers that don't care who these characters are. They just want to write a story, and then they shove the characters into that story, whether they break them or not. They don't care. It's like taking a statue or a porcelain statue and trying to put it into a smaller box and crushing it and destroying the statue in the meantime. That's what it's like. And that's how I feel here is you're breaking these characters trying to put them into the story where it doesn't fit. So it's just gotten worse and worse. I'm going to get the next issue, which is it's a Batman Catwoman. It's not even one of the Batman or Catwoman. It's just like a one-shot type of thing outside of the regular issues. So instead of being a Catwoman or a Batman issue, it's a combo book. But that'll be the last one I get, and then I'm going to cancel Batman. I'm canceling Catwoman. So good job, Teenie Howard and Chip Zdarsky. Good job making me drop both books. This is not how sales are supposed to work. All right, then let's jump into Realm of X. So this is starring Grunberg, who is now writing Red Sonja. So I'm reading two books from, I thought it was a him, but it's a her, according to what I heard from Wes. And this is, they got, they had a whole massacre, red wedding type of situation at the gala. And to escape, magic created a portal. They ended up in this like a medieval world where we end up with Curse is this little girl that has no hair and spiky head. And she ends up being part of the prophecy, and she gets taken by this white witch to her little kingdom. Meanwhile, everybody else is in the other kingdom, and magic has lost her ability to create any portals. So we have not only magic in there, but Mary, and the artwork's pretty decent. And Mary's bored, and so she's having like a bout with the thing, and you think that they're gonna kiss, but they don't. And Marrow's in here, and Danny Moonstone. That's a pretty cool picture. They're about to do battle because they're trying to still find Curse. And they're like, well, the only place that we haven't looked is in that tower. So, and everybody told them that we can't go in the tower. So they're like, yeah, we're going to go in there anyway. And Mary's not being real nice to Magic, saying, you can't even come in because you have no powers, and we'll handle this because you're a big old loser. And Magic's like, yeah, you're right, I'm a big old loser. And they're like, well, how come you haven't contacted Odin and stuff like that? And then we actually see the note that she sent to Odin. I think that was kind of out of place, man. We didn't need that. So then they finally go into the tower, and they realize Curse is there. And that little woman hanging upside down in front of the queen, she's like, yeah, bad things are coming. And then it's going to be continued. She's writing notes to everybody, so I don't know if she's going to go on and try something that might be detrimental. But this was very, very text heavy. Very text heavy. Would it make a good film or television show? You know what it would probably make a good, because it wouldn't make a good film or television show. Because we haven't even been introduced to the X-Men again in the Disney universe. And there's so many other better X-Men stories to tell in live action. I mean, they've screwed up Phoenix twice. I don't know how you hire the same guy who messed it up the first time to write it again and screw it up a second time. That takes a lot of brains. I mean, that's amazing. So that was pretty bad. That was like one of the last Fox movie that was done with the X-Men before just as Disney bought Fox out. But you know what it would be cool is with a cartoon. where they're bringing back the X-Men 98 or 88 or whatever it was. This would be kind of cool in that, but you'd have to have some of the newer X-Men. These X-Men didn't exist back in that time, but it would make a pretty good little two-parter cartoon. I think so. But that's it. It wouldn't be live action at all because these characters it's going to be a very long time before they get these kind of characters in there. These are all like B list characters. All right, and then we'll go on to the last one, Big Game. This is a number 4 by Mark Millar. This one wasn't as good as the other ones. The other ones everybody was just dying. So this is the good guys and the bad guys are just wiping out the good guys haphazardly. And Hit Girl from Kick-Ass ends up going to prehistoric times because she ends up being cornered. So they, there are bullets everywhere. They're like, there's no escape for you. And she had grabbed the body of the time traveler who was killed. And she ends up messing with the buttons on the thing. And she ends up going back in time to prehistoric times. So she's cornered by, a velociraptor. And then a spear goes through it just at the nick of time. And this is where it gets weird because I thought literally she was going to be in prehistoric time, but we end up finding futuristic people there. I don't know these characters at all. If these are part of the Millar universe, I don't know. But we get a nice picture of the city they live in prehistoric times, and then there's a king there, and the daughter was the one that saved him, so the princess. And then there's literally like magic users and stuff like that. And he reminds me very much of Thanos and, his little dark guys. So the guy reads Hit Girl through her memories and he says, "You're not in the future." He's like, "What? How am I not in the future? I rule everything. How do I not rule everything there?" And he's like, "Well, you just don't." So they decide that even though her time thing is out of juice, he's going to charge it up with his magic or whatever else, and they're going to take an armada over there. And he's even got like the sword thing, so he looks like Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy. So there's a lot of stuff stolen here, I think. And I mean, this girl even looks like Hela. That's his wife, and she's pregnant. And she basically tells the guy with her eyes to not kill Hit Girl. They want him to take her in the woods and kill her. Why don't you just kill her right there? I don't know, but it's almost like Snow Whitey. But anyway, so look at that. So that's a pretty cool shot of Hit Girl. Even though he was letting her go, she wants his bike, so she ain't gonna be running around. So there's the armada all ready to go, and Hit Girl comes back and somehow gets a costume or whatever else, a uniform, to sneak aboard. And then we go back to regular time, and there's Nemesis messing everybody up. He's killing everybody, and yeah, there's just a lot of death. It's just a lot of death. And at the bottom, Cordelia from the Magic Society there, she finally gets involved. The last one, she said, "I'm not getting involved. We really can't get involved." Oh, then the last person of the nightclub, the fat guy from because remember the other two died. He basically all he does is lift up the mask and then he burns. Oh, right there. So that's the last guy from the nightclub. It's gone too, because he takes his mask off during the day and the daylight burns him up. So now Cordelia is involved from its magic order. And then we see this big portal showing up, so it's very end game. And then the whole armada comes through the time portal. Now, how they got a time portal that big, I don't know how they did an end game either. So this is, I have the same question on both. And this is the, yeah. And they have the guy's body strewn up. That's the time traveler guy's body. He's dead. But it's not in his body. It's purely on his watch thing. So I'm not sure how I understand that. But like I keep saying, Mark Millar has a deal. He works at Netflix. So he has a deal with Netflix. So for all I know, they're leading up to this. Where they're going to, because, he did Kingsman. And he did Kick Ass. So he's got two of his IPs already up and running. So if he does a couple more of the IPs, he could kind of lead into this. And for all I know, they're trying to do that on Netflix to do a couple of his shows. And then they're, looking to do something else with Big Game. I don't know. But again, he already has the ability of doing it. I mean, he has 2 Kingsman movies, right? And he had 2 Kick-Ass movies. So he already has that. He had 3 Kingsman movies, sorry, because they also did the prequel. So that's it for me. So it'll be interesting to see what his plans are for Netflix, or if he's just doing this just willy-nilly. If so, he's killing off all his characters, but there is time travel, so he could reverse all that. So this would be a yes, but again, it's so many similarities to Endgame, he'd probably have to do a rewrite. Realm of X only as cartoon. That it wouldn't exist live action because of the characters. Catwoman, this is the biggest piece of junk ever, and I'm losing. They're losing a customer with 2 of their books. Extremely smart. I'm reserving my judgment on World's Finest because I want to see what they do with the Kingdom Come universe. And then this would be awesome, but they would have to do so much lead into it because they have so many characters. All right, well, that's it. So thank you so much for watching. I'm going to pitch my own stuff real quick. If you're familiar, if you've been doing this a million times, but before I'm going to do this a little out of order. In fact, I should have done this first. So I finally did the pre-launch for Lords of LA #2. I keep telling everybody that I'm going to be launching the 2nd issue on Kickstarter, and I finally have the page up. The only thing I'm waiting on, it's all ready. The only thing I'm waiting on now is the video, and I have to do some marketing. So I'm probably get notified. I'm going to put the link in the description below. This is my vampire mob in the 1950s. There's plenty of action. There's plenty of gore. There's plenty of blood and everything like that in here. It's basically a revenge story of vampire on vampire violence using humans with Tommy guns. So check out the link below and go ahead and get notified about when I launch. So it basically sends you an email once you click it. Then we have I'm going to do this completely backwards. My sci-fi series, Destiny Aurora, on the Kickstarter. You'll be able to get this as well as on DestinyAurora.net. This is a 150-page graphic novel that is an adaptation of the first novel of a 4-book series called Destiny Aurora, and there's plenty of dogfighting. There's plenty of androids and a big twist in there. We have aliens, and you definitely are not going to get bored with that one. All right, and then my novel of fantasy is my first foray into fantasy, Tales of Bravnor, the Iron Witch, the story of Threya and the prince and princesses of the realm that are all different cultures, and there's a whole new magic system and things like that as well. All right. Well, thank you again so much for watching, guys. Check out some of my other videos that are going to pop up as well. And remember, give me a thumbs up, give me a middle finger, whatever you want. All right. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a good one.